إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So in continuing where we left off with Kitaab Tawhid, we reached chapter 49. It says باب ما جاء في قول الله تعالى ولئن أذقناه رحمة منا من بعد ضراء مسته ليقولن هذا لي الآية. So it mentions, and that's from Surah Al-Fussilat, ayah 50, and it mentions, and when we gave them a taste of mercy, of our mercy, after adversity had afflicted them, لَيَقُولَنَّ هَذَا لِي. They say, this is for me. Like, this is from my doings. Was mentioned by Mujahid in the tafsir. He says, هَذَا بِعَمَلِي وَأَنَا مَحْقُوقٌ بِهِ وَقَالَ ibn Abbas يُرِيدُ مِنْ عِنْدِي. And what's mentioned, they say, this is due to my actions. I'm deserving of this. Ibn Abbas, he mentions what he intends by this is that it comes from within, from myself. So rather than attribute the favor, the mercy to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person makes claim as if this is something that they're deserving of. This is something they've earned from their actions. And this is how a person deceives themselves. It's how a person deceives themselves by claiming that which they have of mercy or of goodness is not from Allah Azza wa Jal, but rather from their doings, their actions. La. So it mentions الإنسان إذا أضاف النعمة إلى عمله وكسبه ففيه نوع من الإشراك في ربوبية. If a person attributes the bounty or the favor to their actions or their earnings, then in this there's a type of shirk regarding Allah's lordship. وإذا أضافها إلى الله لكنه زعم أنه مستحق لذلك وأن ما أعطاه الله ليس محض تفضل لكن لأنه أهل ففيه نوع من التعلي والترفع في جانب العبودية. It mentions if a person attributes it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, however they claim that they are deserving of that, and that which Allah had given them is not purely from Allah's virtue upon them, but they believe that they are deserving of this, then within this there's a type of arrogance and self-exaltation in regards to servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because everything that we receive of goodness, هذا من فضل الله على عبادي. This is from Allah's virtue and favor upon His ibad. One should not deceive themselves and say, I'm deserving of this though. I'm deserving of Allah's favor because of X, Y, and Z that I do. La. Because this will lead a person to have a takabbur wa tarafa', that a person self-exalts himself and is arrogant. The second evidence that's mentioned وقوله قال إنما أوتيته على علم عندي. That a person says, for example, rather I was only given it because of knowledge that I have. And Qatada, he mentions على علم مني بوجوه المكاسب. I regard the knowledge that I have from the avenues of making money and earning a living. And this is known from the story of Musa Islam, the one who is Qarun, that had a lot of wealth. And when the people asked of him, he said, rather, this is not from Allah. I was given it because of knowledge that I have. So he doesn't attribute the virtue to Allah Azza wa Jal, rather attributed the virtue of what he had to himself and his knowledge. And that is of the ways that a person will go astray. Others they mentioned, ala ilmin min Allahi anni lahu ahl. وهذا معنى قول مجاهد أوتيته على شرف. They mentioned that others they mentioned they only came to me because of knowledge of Allah's knowledge. I mentioned that I am acquainted with knowledge, that Allah's knowledge that I have. So a person going overboard in attributing favors to themselves or believing that they are deserving of it, then this is a problem. Rather, when a person acknowledges everything that I have of goodness is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَيَسْتَلْزِمَ الشُّكْرِ, it necessitates gratitude, فَيَبْذُلْ جُهْدَهُ أَنْ يَشْكُرَ اللَّهِ. A person will then exert their efforts in showing gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal بِقِيَامِ بِمَا أَمْرَهُ أَنْ يَقُومُ بِهِ وَإِجْتِنَابَ مَا يُنْهَى عَنْهُ. For example, a person will then strive to fulfill that which they've been commanded from obedience and stay away from that which they have been prohibited from. The third evidence, the last evidence of this chapter, is a long hadith, but of the hadith that is of great benefit. And subhanAllah, it focuses on examples of those who proceeded from Bani Israel regarding this topic directly. And those who do not attribute the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Allah Azza wa Jal. Rather they attribute it to themselves, or they believe they are deserving of this. La. Everything of goodness we have is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that which afflicts us of hardship, bima kasabat aydina, is that which we have earned by our own mistakes and shortcomings. وَيَكُونُ لَنَا امْتِحَانًا اخْتِبَارًا لِصِدْقِ الْإِيمَانِ. And it is for us as a test for the truthfulness of our Iman. So in this hadith, and Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, أنه سمع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إن ثلاثة من بني إسرائيل, they were free from the children of Israel, Bani Israel. أبرص وأقرع وأعمى. Someone who had leprosy, someone who had alopecia, and someone who was blind. فأراد الله تعالى أن يبتليهم, but Allah wanted to test them. فبعث إليهم ملكا, so he sent to them an angel. فأتى الأبرص فقال فأي شيء أحب إليك. He came to the one who had leprosy and said to him, what is the most beloved thing to you? فقال لون حسن والجلد حسن ويذهب عني الذي قد قذرني الناس به. He mentioned to have a good skin tone, to have good skin, and for that which the people are despised me for, to be relieved from me, to be taken away from me. قال فمسحه فذهب عنه قذره فأعطي لونا حسنا وجلدا حسنا. It mentions so the angel wiped him and it left him immediately that which the people despised him for, and he was given beautiful skin and a pleasant skin color. قال فأي المال أحب إليك. Which of the wealth is most beloved to you or dearest to you? قال الإبل أو البقرة. He mentioned either camels or cows. شك إسحاق, he mentions the narrator was in doubt regarding was it cows or camels. Either way, it doesn't have any impact on the hadith. فأعطي ناقة عشراء. It mentioned he was given a she camel that was 10 months pregnant. i.e., this is the most expensive type of camel, because not only is it a she camel that can bear more camels, rather it was also bearing child. So again, more camels would come. So this is abundant khair. This is of the most dearest wealth and in abundance. فَقَالَ بَارَكَ اللَّهُ لَكَ فِيهَا. May Allah bless you regarding the wealth. Then he mentions, قَالَ فَأَتَى الْأَقْرَعِ. Then he came to one with alopecia. فَقَالَ أَيُّ شَيْءٍ أَحَبُّ إِلَيْكَ. Mentioned, what's the thing that's most beloved to you? قَالَ شَعْرٌ حَسَنٌ. Yani good hair. To have good hair, nice hair. وَيَذْهَبُ عَنِّي الَّذِي قَدْ قَذِرَنِي النَّاسُ بِهِ. And for that which the people despise me for, to be removed from me. فَمَسَحَهُ فَذَهَبَ عَنْهُ وَأُعْطِيَ شَعْرًا حَسَنًا. So again, the angel wiped him, and that which the people despised him for had gone, and he was given pleasant, beautiful hair. قَالَ فَأَيُّ الْمَالِ أَحَبُّ إِلَيْكَ. So he mentioned, which wealth is most beloved to you? قَالَ الْبَقَرُ أَوْ الْإِبْلُ. He's mentioned either cows or camels. فَأُعْطِيَ بَقْرَةً حَامِلًا. So he was given a cow that was also carrying, that would also bear calves. Now I mentioned, وَقَالَ بَارَكَ اللَّهُ لَكَ فِيهَا. May Allah bless you in it. Yani regarding the wealth. This is the dua of an angel. It's going to be answered. Now, so he mentioned, فَأَتَى الْأَعْمَى فَقَالَ أَيُّ شَيْءٍ أَحَبُّ إِلَيْكَ. So he came to the blind man and he said to him, what is the most dearest thing to you? He mentioned, قَالَ أَنْ يَرُدَّ اللَّهُ إِلَيَّ بَصَرِي. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give me back my sight. فَأُبْصِرَ بِهِ النَّاسِ. So that he'll be able to see the people. فَمَسَحَهُ فَرَدَّ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ بَصَرَهُ. So the angel wiped him and his sight was returned back to him. قَالَ فَأَيُّ الْمَالِ أَحَبُّ إِلَيْكَ. Which wealth is most beloved to you? قَالَ الْغَنَمِ. He said sheep. فَأُعْتِيَ شَاةً وَالِدًا. So he was given again a sheep that was carrying. He mentioned فَأَنْتَجَ هَذَانِ وَوَلَّدَ هَذَا فَكَانَ لِهَذَا وَادٍ مِنَ الْإِبِلِ وَلِهَذَا وَادٍ مِنَ الْبَقَرِ وَلِهَذَا وَادٍ مِنَ الْغَنَمِ. So each bore their children and he gave birth, and he mentioned so much so that the first had a valley of camels, the second had a valley of cows, and the third had a valley of sheep. So Allah has blessed them abundantly. One, Allah has returned to them the ailment that they had been afflicted with. Allah has cured them from this. Also, cured. Yani shafahum. Also, Allah razaqahum malan. Allah has also given them wealth. You see? So when we actually reflect now on the situation of each of these three individuals, the first two, their concern was the people. So they said, we want that which the people despise us for to be removed from us. And they just want good skin, good hair. As for the third person, the blind man, when he was asked, he referred that only Allah can relieve him of that which he's going through. So he mentioned that Allah would return my sight to me. The first two asked for the most dearest of wealth. The last one who was blind, whose concern was that Allah gave him back his sight. He was humble in what he was seeking. He only sought that which would suffice him. You see? And we're going to see further from the story the significance of the lesson that we learn from this. Because even today, when you see people, they come to seek favor and they ask you a favor, sometimes they go above and beyond in their request. They're not humble. When you say, I can help you, they want the most. They won't just suffice with that which will suffice them. Rather, they want to milk you, as they say, to milk the cow. They want to take everything possible. But as for the one who knows that favors come from Allah Azza wa Jal, he only sought that Allah return his sight to him, and he only saw that which would suffice him of wealth. Yani he was mutawadi', someone that was humble. And we know in the hadith, man tawada'a lillah daraja rafa'ahu Allahu biha daraja. Whoever humbles himself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will elevate them and honor them. In continuing the hadith, it mentions ثم قال ثم إنه أتى الأبرص في صورته وهيئته فقال رجل مسكين وابن السبيل قد انقطعت بي الجبال في سفري هذا فلا بلاغ لي اليوم إلا بالله ثم بك أسألك بالذي أعطاك اللون الحسن والجد الحسن والمال بعيرا أتبلغ به في سفري فقال الحقوق كثيرة فقال له كأنني أعرفك ألم تكن أبرص يقدرك الناس فقيرا فأعطاك الله المال فقال إنما ورثت هذا المال كابرا عن كابر قال إن كنت كاذبا فسيرك الله إلى ما كنت. So here it mentions the same angel that Allah had sent came in the form of his previous image, i.e. came to the leper, the one who had leprosy before, as a man who had leprosy. And he mentioned to him, I'm a poor man and I'm traveling, Ibn Sabil, I'm traveling. However, the mountains cut my path. i.e. I've run out of provisions to fulfill my journey. So I'm not able to finish my journey today except by the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then you. i.e. then you'll be a means that Allah provides for me. So I ask you, by the one who gave you good skin and a pleasant skin tone, color, wal mal and wealth, one camel to ride, to use to finish my journey. أتبلغ به في سفر, يعني I'll be able to finish my journey with it. And he mentioned فقال, the man then said الحقوق كثيرة, the responsibilities are much. I have many duties, many responsibilities. As in, I'm not able to give you anything. فقال كأنني أعرفك, the angel then said, it's as if I know you. He said, wasn't you once someone of leprosy that the people despised of? Poor, but Allah gave you from his wealth. He mentioned إنما فقال إنما ورثت هذا المال كابرا عن كابر. In this moment, he didn't attribute the virtue to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He mentioned and he lied. He said, I inherited this wealth from my ancestors. No. فقال له الملك, the angel then said to him, إن كنت كاذبا, if you are a liar, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala return you back to how you was. Again, we mentioned the dua of the angel is going to be what? Answered. If you are lying, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala return you back to the state you was in before. i.e. a person of leprosy. The people despised of you. And you was poor. So if you are a liar, may Allah return you back to those conditions. And they mentioned, فَأَتَى وَقَالَ وَأَتَى الْأَقْرَعِ, then he came to the one who had alopecia. فِي صُورَتِهِ وَهِيئَتِهِ, in the same state that he was in prior to the angel visiting him before. فَقَالَ لَهُ مِثْلَ مَا قَالَ لِهَذَا, and he said to the same one, the same that he said to the previous one. وَرَدَّ عَلَيْهِ مِثْلَ مَا رَدَّ عَلَيْهِ هَذَا, and that same person, the one who had alopecia, his response was the same as the one who previously had leprosy. So the angel said again, فقال له إن كنت كاذبا فسيرك الله إلى ما كنت. If you are lying, then may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala return you back to the state that you was in. يعني ما في شعر في أي مكان. نعم. do I know about the masjid near Church Street? And if you do, are they a good masjid? I don't know which masjid you're talking about. And I don't know where Church Street is either. Yeah. I'm not from Croydon. I don't know Church Street. I don't know the masjid there either. No. But as we mentioned, he mentioned, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala return you back to your former state. I.e., a person that people despised of, was poor, had no wealth, and had alopecia. They mentioned, قال وأتى الأعمى في صورته وهيئته. He then came to the blind man in the same image, the same conditions, i.e. poor and blind. فقال رجل مسكين وابن السبيل. Said, mention, I am a poor man who's traveling. قد انقطعت بي الجبال في سفري فلا بلاغ لي اليوم إلا بالله ثم بك. I mentioned the mountains have cut my journey. I'm not able to finish my journey except by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then by you. أسألك بالذي رد عليك بصرك شاة أتبلغ بها في سفري. He mentioned, I ask you for one sheep that I can use to help finish my journey. فقال الأعمى, look at the difference in response. الأعمى قال فقال قد كنت أعمى فرد الله إلي بصري. He mentioned, I was once blind. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala returned to me my sight. فخذ ما شئت ودع ما شئت فوالله لا أجهدك اليوم بشيء أخذته لله. Look at the difference. He mentions, take what you want and leave what you want. For by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I will not oppose you, I will not trouble you for anything that you take today for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فقال الملك الذي جاء في هيئته وصورته, the angel that came in his similar image, said to him, أمسك مالك, keep your wealth. فإنما ابتليتم فقد رضي الله عنك وسخط على صاحبيك. He mentioned, keep your wealth, for indeed Allah wanted to test you, and Allah is pleased with you and angry with your companions. Those two, the one who had leprosy and the one who had alopecia. The lesson that we learn here, the blind man, in all of his affairs, he returned his favor to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because he knew that which he had been favored of wealth was from Allah Azza wa Jal, he did not restrict the person, knowing they were seeking only for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. The person asked for one sheep. The angel that came in his form asked for one sheep, as he asked for one camel, as he asked for one cow. I remember we mentioned, they had all been given valleys of their wealth. A valley, and a valley is that whole space between two mountains. The area between two mountains is a valley. So you can't imagine how much wealth this is. And the first two couldn't spare one. I mean, this is because of what? Al-Bukhl. Wa-Shuhnam. That a person is become so miserly and stingy, they don't realize the favors are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaitan encourages them to keep their wealth out of fear. When you spend in the sake of Allah, for the sake of Allah, you'll become poor. Subhanallah. As for the blind man, when he was asked for wealth, he said, take whatever you want. Whatever you want, take it, and I will not even say anything for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because he knows this is from Allah Azza wa Jal. And the same way Allah provided for him in that moment, Allah will provide for him again. So he had no fear over his wealth. He said, take whatever you need, take whatever you want, and leave whatever you want. and you'll find no trouble from me, no opposition at all. Why? Because he knew the favors were from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And initially he knew that only Allah Azza wa Jal can return his eyesight. That whoever was visiting him was just a means. And this is the likeness of the believer. The Muslim that has Iman, that has knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal, is like the blind man. How much people do you see in Croydon alone in this street giving out sihr leaflets of magic? That if you want so and so to love you, if you want money, if you want this, and they want you to fall into shirk.
They can't even help themselves.
Exactly. But they are there. You see? The first two, they're the likes that will go to these people. The first two in the hadith, they're the likes that will go to these people that believe in the means more than they believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. As for the blind man, he's the example of the mu'min. The mu'min knows that these are just means. Rather, even though the person was there saying, what do you want? He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would return his sight to him. And he didn't ask for wealth. When he was asked, he just sought the most simplest of things. And that's why when he was questioned to spend for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, he didn't hesitate. And that's the definition of shukr. That's why they say shukran ni'aman tasta'milaha fi ta'atillah. The true gratitude is using your favors in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why when a person truly knows Allah is the one who created them, Allah has sent prophets and messengers, for you to disbelieve, that's why it's called kufr. A kafir is someone who's not grateful. It's the opposite of shukr, wa shakir. So if you don't show gratitude by obeying and believing in the message Allah has given you, then that's why you're from the kuffar. That's why a person's a kafir. Why? Because they are not grateful. The gratitude that is necessary upon them is to submit in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why the angel made dua against the first two. May Allah return you back to how you was. And you're not deserving of this. This is also affirmed every day. The angels, they make dua. They say, Allahumma a'ti kulli munfiqin khalafa wa kulli mumsikin talafa. Yani kulla mumsikin, kulla munfiqin. With fatha form. They mention, they say, oh Allah, give everyone who spends for your sake fruits of their wealth. Khalafan. As for the one who is miserly and stingy and doesn't spend in a way that's pleasing to you, talafa, destruction of their wealth. That's the reality. And that's exactly what happened here. Not only was their wealth destroyed, but also the favors Allah gave them of good skin, of healthy hair, that was also removed from them. You don't know who Allah is going to send to you as well to be a test for you. We don't just look at this hadith and say it applied to Bani Israel, it won't apply to us. La. Allah will test you in similar ways. There'll be those who come to you in need, and if you have the ability to help them and you turn away, say al-huquq kathira, for maybe you'll be tested in this way. But it doesn't mean that every single person you ask you have to give. La. Some scholars say that Jews and Christians shall be treated as our brothers, as we are a branch from the same tree. But the Quran says no mercy shall be shown to kuffars. I thought it says contradiction. I'm confused on this matter. I hope you could shed some light. What scholars? That's the first question. Which scholars say this? That's the first time I've ever heard that in my life. So, again, what scholars are saying this? Is this someone who's truly a person of knowledge that we actually take knowledge from? And what's their evidence? Because if you're saying they say this, but the Quran is saying something else, then obviously they don't have evidence for that which they're saying. So, But just to clarify something, the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows those who disbelieve in Him to have food and drink, to have sustenance and good health, this is from Allah's mercy upon them, but it's also a test. It's also their test. That's the reality. So, and the mercy that won't be shown to them is the mercy of Yawm al-Qiyamah. Naam, the mercy of Yawm al-Qiyamah. وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا. They mentioned هذا خاص بالمؤمنين يوم القيامة. That Allah is specifically merciful only to the believers of on Yawm al-Qiyamah. So again, when we find people saying stuff like this, we need the sources of evidence. Naam, and who they are, and first and foremost, is this person truly a scholar that we yeah, Allah musta'an. I don't know who it was. If that was the actual Imam of the masjid, maybe question him for his evidences. I know different people give khutbah in that masjid, so ask them for their evidences for that statement or that position. You see, because
أنا لا أعرف الله الرحمن يرحم العابد والعاصي، لكن بالمؤمنين رحيمة، والدنيا يعطيها لكل الناس، بس الجنة ما يعطيها إلا للمؤمنين. أنا هذه فهمته منك الحين يعني.
لا نتكلم عن رحمة. فهو يقول يعني قال أن الإمام قال في خطبة بعد اليهود والنصارى يعامل مثل إخواننا لأننا نكون مثلا غصبا من نفس الشجرة. لكن هذا كلام يعني في نظر. And just to clarify, yeah, me, I'm not a scholar. The Imam of that masjid is not a scholar either. That's just the reality. I know, and again, I feel like you should give him the opportunity to clarify and explain, inshallah, because naam. Just ask for the evidence of where that statement was derived from. Because how I can interpret what he's saying, because that's one thing, we can't mention the one point without the whole context of what he's saying. So don't even, I need to hear the whole khutbah personally, because with context, because this is the problem that we have today. I'm not saying you're doing this as well, I'm just clarifying something. Someone will take something you say without the full context and use it against you, when you've actually explained everything you intended.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
So as I was mentioning, of the things that is dangerous that we fall into today, we take something, a point, without the context, and we use it as criticism. Or we say a point and we say the Quran says. But when we're saying the Quran says, we're not saying it from a place of tafsir and knowledge. We're saying it based on literal, taking an ayah and saying that's what it says. Because as I mentioned, when we talk about any topic, you don't talk about based on one evidence you come across. You need all evidence on that matter. And that's why we have to be careful of talking without knowledge. When the scholars give a ruling, a fatwa, you'll see they bring all evidences related to that which they've come across, which they've been able to find. Then they'll give the ruling based upon this, you see. Because Allah mentions rahmati wasi'at kulla shay. Allah's mercy has enveloped everything. And that's kulla shay yufid al-umum. That benefits that something is general. So there needs to be specific. Remember saying Allah doesn't show mercy upon the Jews and the Christians. In what sense? Now, you see, because we know specifically Yawm al-Qiyamah. But as for the dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows His mercy on all of His creation. All of His creation. So, again, it needs details. And obviously, sometimes when you have these points, rather than coming to someone else to ask you about someone else's statement, go directly to them. Go back to the person because they are more knowledgeable of that which they intended. You see, that's very important. Because there's a big council culture, like the council culture within the Muslim community is problematic. That's because a lot of people that talk, they don't have knowledge. And they feel they're qualified to talk about everything and everyone. La. You go back to the scholars and you seek their counsel and advice in matters like this, you see. So just to be cautious, I'm saying this as a means of principle, not at the person who asked the question. Because I don't believe that's their intention. However, you have some, unfortunately, their intention isn't pure. It doesn't come from a pure place. Or you have some people, it's like if you're not speaking against people as well, with certain people, again, you're cancelled for that. Again, a lot of these matters that are claimed to be from the Sunnah, sometimes it's not from the Sunnah. You see? And Allah musta'an, the more we have become distant from the major scholars, it's become more problematic. It's become more problematic. Because now, from the signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah, the Prophet as I mentioned, the hadith that mentions Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لا يقبل العلم لا ينزع العلم من الناس يقبل العلم بقبض العلماء. Within the hadith mentions Allah takes knowledge from the people بقبض العلماء, by taking away the scholars. Now when the scholars are taken away from mankind, what happens? يتخذوا جهلاء رؤوسا, they take the people of ignorance as the heads. They become the ones who lead the circle of knowledge and the likes. The salaf used to say, we knew the people would be upon destruction when they saw the youth leading the circles of knowledge. And this is the problem. See, when a lot of people, unfortunately, they just have energy. And they don't channel their energy in the right direction. As I say, for example, a person, they start practicing Islam, the first thing they want to do is open TikTok, open Instagram, open Snapchat and give talks, give lessons. For example, and this one we'll mention the name, that one that was called Marriage is Halal. Everyone knows what she's been doing, talking so much nonsense. And there's been a face to talk about marriage and the likes, talking with men online. And it's like, all of a sudden you close your account and you're giving da'wah now. How does that work? How do you just become... The people that are giving da'wah today have become like Jack in the Box. Everyone's just popping out. This is the problem. Why don't you take that energy? Take that energy and go and learn. Go and learn Islam, and then if you want to talk, you'll know who to talk to and how to talk. It's not just about what can I say. And then the excuse, but I want to give something of sadaqah jariyah. La, don't take one hadith and act like you're fulfilling in the best way. La, because when you're doing this, you're going to fall into more mistakes. And that's why the Prophet mentioned, Man kadhaba alayya muta'ammidan falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar. Whoever lies upon me intention, let them take their place in the hellfire. Go and seek knowledge before you speak. Because too often people are speaking about matters that is not clear for them, or it's hot topics among the Muslim communities. Hot topics, but you're not qualified to talk about that. And when I say qualified, it doesn't mean you need a degree, but it means you have to go for a proper channel of seeking knowledge, that you are equipped to talk about these matters. You see? Because how much people, they don't understand anything. I remember brothers used to come saying, oh, akhi, you need to stay away from that person. He's got mistakes in Iman. You ask that person, what's Iman? They give you a definition of ibadah. They can't even define what is Iman. They don't know the definition of Iman according to scholars, but everyone's making mistakes in Iman. What is Iman? How can you talk about things you don't even know? You see? I used to walk around testing teachers, or what's the definition of Iman? Whoever gave the nicest answer, they run with it for a little while. Oh, he mentioned khams nunat. And you don't know Arabic. Someone says khams nunat, the 5 noons. You're like, wow, everything ended in noon. That's amazing. But it's just simple. It's in the books of Aqidah. You'll study it. But what happened? The definition was nice. I liked how he said it. So I'm going to listen to that talker from now on. Naam. Inna fil bayani la sihra. Indeed, in good speeches, magic. Someone asked, can I give advice to a brother who's scared of being affected by something which is not right, and how to move when listening to speakers? Inshallah, after Salah, we'll try and mention something on this. But again, every day in Surah Al-Fatiha, you say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim. It's very important that you really mean it when you say this in your Salah. That is not something that you just say habitually. You have to truly want Allah to guide you to the straight path. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you. You see? Allah will ask Allah to show you the truth and make you of those who follow it. Because the truth is not based on majority. It's not based on who's got the best name. It's not based on who's got the most videos online, the most subscribers, the people that, the name that buzzes around town. That's not what the truth is based upon. That's not what the truth is based upon. I remember one of the teachers, one of the teachers that I listened to and I advise people in the West to listen to, Ustad Saeed Hassan, from the graduates of Imam Saud, and he often has classes in Masjid Imam Nawawi and other than them. And he mentioned of the things that's not taught is books about a Salafiyah, Da'wah to Salafiyah, true reflection of the Sunnah. Because everyone's talking about it, but they haven't studied books about it itself. So they don't have principle. And when people don't talk with principle, they go where the wind blows. It's based on who am I aligned to, and not based on what is Salafi itself. As like when people say what is Salafiyah, they're going to say the same thing, following the Salaf. Okay, what does that mean though? Because there's books about it. You see, Sheikh Albani has books about it. Other than him have books about it. So what does that mean? So you can truly know I'm following Salafiyah, Da'wah to Salafiyah, which is Islam, as-Sahih, the correct Islam, upon the haqq. Not based upon my desires and affiliations and fanaticisms, la. So no one can shake you now, because when you are built upon the haqq, you don't just get, like Jenga, your blocks fall down when someone pulls the wrong string. La, it doesn't work like that. They won't be able to shake you. Why? Because you'll be established upon knowledge. And the easiest thing, what makes it so easy to avoid all the fitna that we have? Learn the Arabic language. When you learn the Arabic language, you can access the major scholars. Easy. You can listen to their lessons, the explanations. It's there. It's available. But because we don't have the language to access knowledge, we are deprived. We become reliant upon people like me. I'm going to make many mistakes. But those who have spent their life seeking knowledge have been testified by major scholars as people of knowledge. That's who you really need to go to. You see? We're just like things that help you on the way. When you have a 3-course meal, we're just a starter. That's it. We can't treat us like the main dish. La. Your objective is to learn the language of Islam and then take from the true people of knowledge. We're just filling the gap until you're able to do that. Bismillah. So I think the best and the most easiest way to access knowledge in its true form and from the true people of knowledge is by learning the language of knowledge, the language of Islam, and that's Arabic. And we'll continue after Salah, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.